Hello, hello, happy Friday. So our group today finished day 43 of the 80-day obsession program. And today was crazy because one thing that I've shared is that this program is constantly changing. Every workout is different, so you don't know what to expect. Today we did, this week 3 of month 2, we're doing 3 sets of 10 reps, and the way it's tiered is totally different. Today it moves super fast, and what was crazy is that we are seeing major results in our strength and our stamina and our endurance, because when we first started, we were using these bands right here, like the yellow ones. Like, look how easy it is to go work with. Then we moved up to the greens. Then we moved up to, well, I broke this one, the blues. Then we started doubling up the greens and the blues. Well, I ended up having to buy new bands because the green and the yellow just are not doing anything for me, and the blue broke. So I bought these bands, and today I was doubling up the black, which is extra heavy, the red, which is heavy, and then the green that from our original set. And this is one thing that Autumn suggested, is that you have at least 2 sets of bands. The bands that we have were purchased through, I don't know if it's Amazon, but through this company, Perform Better. But I do know that, well, I think that we're in the process of creating our own. But definitely 2 sets of bands, because today, while we were doing our workout, Richardson, one of the crew members, his popped. And so right around the halfway mark is whenever we're seeing a lot of bands breaking. But today I want to talk to you about something that Autumn shared, and she's been constantly saying this, is that before our workouts, set our intentions. Because here's the thing is, a lot of people don't treat their workouts as a priority. People say, oh, I hope I'll work out, or I'm going to try to work out, and then it doesn't happen. And I've always said that once you set your workout time, treat it like a doctor's appointment, an appointment with your kid's teacher or counselor. This is something that you wouldn't bail out on. You wouldn't postpone. You wouldn't push to the last. And when you see working out or exercise as something that's going to build your strength, it's going to help you in your everyday life, then it makes it easier. My friend Amy Coppola shared yesterday that, it's not just about muscles, but, there's things that she can do as a woman, as a mom, and that's what it's about. And Autumn's always getting us centered around that. Like today, she was really talking about, like, let's not get focused on the scale, let's focus on the strength. I mean, it's insane that we started off with this little band, and now we're like triple banding this, and we are super strong. Our weights have up to incredible numbers. Like, I'm seeing in the group what people are lifting, and it's just insane that in 43 workouts we've done that. But she's saying that go in with intentions. Like, what do you want to do? So many people quit. They cut it short. They cut themselves short. They sell themselves short. They get half the results because they get halfway through the workout, or they end the last set. And so it's one thing is that we're going in with intentions of what we want in the workout, and we're setting that before we push play, before we get started. And so that's what we want. And it's not focused on a number. And so that's something that I really suggest everybody apply to every part of their life, because you need to know going into something what you want out of it, or it's not going to be meaningful. You're going to be kind of lost. And I see so many people who talk about being lost. I was one of those people, because you don't have any purpose, you don't have any direction, you don't have any target that you're aiming for. Today in the group that my coach Becky and I have been running, and I've shared little bits and pieces of stuff that we're doing, we have this group that we're mentoring some really special people. And we're applying some of the stuff we've learned as working with life coaches and coaching other people and personal development. And we're helping people break through some barriers, break through some limiting beliefs. And it's really crazy. We're just on week 2, and I've seen so many breakthroughs from the participants. And we've really talked about, and I've been talking live about this a lot, is that our brain and our psychology are really what's behind the what we're doing, our actions. And I had an assignment for them today in the group, was that they needed to be aware of that inner voice. And everybody has that inner voice. And one of the participants talked about how somebody referred, like, who we are is like made up for a bunch of tribal members. That may be your 4-year-old self, your 10-year-old self. There's little points of things that have happened in your life that sometimes when a situation happens, you call upon that version of yourself, and that person starts making those decisions. But I asked them to be very cognizant and aware of the way they were speaking to themselves. And we have that negative voice. A lot of times it's been influenced by, a parent, a sibling, a teacher, a peer, somebody who caused us to question ourselves, be fearful. And so I asked them to really pay attention to that, and then not just catch themselves doing that, but making sure that asking where it's coming from, because so many people live by these rules as adults that were set in stone as children, and a lot of times influenced by other people in their life that had lived in a totally different culture, different generation. And so I asked them to do that, and I know for some people that's really hard, because I really am challenging you to do the same thing, to be really aware of your thoughts, because we just kind of go through life floating around, not even aware of this, voice in our head. And my coach said that she named her that person, that inner self, that inner mean girl, is Crazy Becky. And my life coach had suggested I name myself, my voice, something that you could call upon and be like, okay, enough. And so these are crazy thoughts. But I noticed yesterday I was kind of having some negative energy, and I was thinking about some stuff, and I caught myself as I was walking through the house saying in the back of my head or in my mind, that voice, because you always have conscious thoughts, whether you're talking to somebody else, I'm having other thoughts in my head, whether you're sleeping, your brain's always going. But I caught myself saying to myself that this always happens. You always pick people that want you to be their best friend, and they're never your best friend. They only take from you, and they don't care about you. They don't, nothing, you don't matter. And I stopped myself, and I was like, where did that come from? And then I remembered that this has been something that I've carried with my whole entire life. And I've shared this before, that I was adopted, and that my adopted parents were people that, really didn't actually want me. They didn't really want to make a baby's life better. They wanted to fill their void, make their pain go away, look like the perfect family. And I've always felt that it was been my job to carry relationships and carry friendships. And I realized that belief, that limiting belief that I've carried since a child, has dictated my friendships, my romantic relationships, everything, because I believe that I was just a filler. I was never chosen, that I wasn't anything special, and that I was forgettable, and I allowed people to take advantage of me. And so those were something where it stopped me dead in my tracks, where I'm like, whoa, this is the conversation's going in my head. And then I had to stop and be like, where is it coming from? Is it true? No. And at any point in time, you can literally change your story. You can change the direction of your life and change. Oops, my kid just called. I just hit decline. You can change everything about where you're going with your thoughts. And this is something that I shared the other day, that I always said I couldn't jump out of a plane. I was scared of heights. But when I made the decision that I was going to do that, to be with my daughter on her 18th birthday, which was a surreal experience, I did it. I jumped out of the plane. I survived. I want to do it again. And that was something that was incredible. And so you tell yourself that I can't, and then you won't do it. And then sometimes things happen where it just happens and you do it, and then you realize that you can do it. And it's the language that you tell yourself. And, our brains are so powerful, but those are the things that make sure that you're aware of what you're saying. And ask your friends, ask your peers to be aware of how you're talking to yourself. I've done this with several friends where I've listened to them talking to themselves, and I'm like, whoa, time out. You're calling yourself a dummy. You're calling yourself an idiot. You're negatively talking about yourself, and they didn't even realize they were doing it. So I challenge you to talk to your family, your peers, and ask them to be aware and let you know some of these statements that you're saying over and over and over again, and then ask yourself, is this the truth? Because really, most of the time, the things that we're living by aren't really the truth, and you can change it at any point in time. I talked to my life coach the other day, and she taught me something about, it's called the hierarchy of relationships. And you draw the circle. I'll have to show you a picture because it's just ridiculous. Ryan and I laughed hysterically. My circles did not look like circles, but it's like a circle is like kind of like bullseye, and you categorize your buckets of friends, like your peers, your acquaintances, the strangers, all these different things, and then you make a list of what you must do in that relationship, what they must do in that relationship, what you will not tolerate, and then the qualities you're looking for in a friend. And then once you have those boundaries and those expectations, then it makes it so much clearer, and it makes those relationships so much more defined. And when you use those boundaries and expectations from day one, it's really clear on who is willing to live by that, and who really is somebody that's going to be in your life for, a lifetime. And really it helps you know what you want. And that's something that I learned, and I forget about, from time to time in therapy 2 years ago, is setting boundaries. And I set boundaries with some old friends after I came out of the mental health, facility I checked myself into, and we're no longer friends. Had I had those boundaries from the beginning, and I had those must-haves and must-nevers and the things that I was looking for, and been true to that, I wouldn't have probably been in those friendships. And so anyways, I just wanted to share with you how our brains are wired, and how so many people think that it's everything is influenced by just what's going on around them. And yes, it does to a degree, but your decision making is based on things that have happened in the past. And you have to do a gut check every once in a while and ask, like, am I living by a rule that I was set because of something that happened to me when I was 5, when I was 6, when I was a teenager, or whatever. And that's something that I shared yesterday on my page. I did a link of, I watched an intervention of Tony Robbins with somebody that had a lifelong stuttering issue. And I've been following Tony Robbins for a long time. I work with the Tony Robbins life coach, and I'm really working towards becoming one myself, because what I do already is so much in that realm. But I been studying a lot of his interventions, and if you ever watch one in person, because I went to his events, they are incredible. But he, in 7 minutes, transformed this guy that for 3 decades had been completely paralyzed by his stuttering. And he asked him some questions, and it was funny because our brain is so powerful that I noticed that whenever they were doing the pre-interview with this guy, he could barely get out that hi, my name is. And then whenever he's in the room with Tony, when he comes in, they meet, the first thing he says is, I think it's like a 4 or 5 word sentence. It was almost like 100% perfectly clear. And I truly attribute that to the fact that he went in with this mindset that he knew that Tony was going to help him. He knew the outcome was that Tony was going to help him get past this, and he already had that belief, and it was already starting to show in his language. But Tony started asking him questions like, when was the first time you remember stuttering? And you see the guy like close his eyes and think, and I think about all the first memories I have. A lot of them are very negative. My parents used to always say that I was just a negative person, but these things set in stone, you have to think about why these things are monumental. And he said, it was a Saturday morning, and I was watching TV eating cereal, and he was like, I think I was watching Rocky and Bullwinkle, and right then you see Tony say, and didn't Bullwinkle stutter? I watched that cartoon as a kid. I don't remember that, but you could see the light bulb go on in this guy's head. He's like, yeah. And then Tony says, well, and didn't Bullwinkle every time he got in trouble say, Rocky, help me? And so then he said, okay, so what was going on at that moment when you were watching Rocky and Bullwinkle, when you remember stuttering for the first time? And he said, he thought about it, and then he said, he was like, my parents were probably arguing. They argued a lot. It a lot of times got physical. And so Tony said, that's it. This was something that as a 2 or 3 year old in your brain, our brains are powerful, you created something that put a gap between your parents arguing, that the focus became on you when you're stuttering. And he's like, that was so amazing that at 2 or 3 years old, your brain was able to be like, what do I do to make it stop? And he was like, at 2 or 3, that worked. And this is something that I say all the time, where I forgive myself for the bad decisions I made, and the drug and the alcohol abuse and all the bad things I've done. It's like I did the best that I could with what I had. And that's why I'm constantly really educating myself and pouring myself into Tony Robbins and personal development and sharing this with people, is because as I've educated myself, I have a lot more tools to go so that I don't make those same mistakes and bad decisions. But he said, what worked for you at 2 and 3 and stopped your parents from fighting at the moment was great. But as a 30-year-old man and a husband and a father, that's not working. And so he called, upon him, like, who he was, and really worked on him. And it was so crazy. Like once he figured out the root of it and what it was, and he made the decision that he was going to be free from this, and that he was amazing, and that he was a warrior, and that he was, free of this. It was so insane. Like, you would think that it was magic, but literally like that, he started speaking without a stutter. And these are things that people don't understand, that it's not magic. It's really our brain. Our brains are powerful. Our brains were designed as a machine to solely protect us, not to make us be awesome, not to make us confident, not to make us rich or successful or any of these things, but just to solely protect us. So our brains have been hardwired to make decisions to protect us, and that when they our brain can't tell the difference between one situation or the next. If you can, like for me, if I look at connection as ... down the road equals hurt. And so I'm working to retrain my brain that not everybody's going to hurt me, not everybody's going to leave me, not everybody's going to die or abandon me. And I'm having to work on that. And so it's just being self-aware. And that's really what it all comes down to, is emotional intelligence. And once you have that self-awareness and emotional intelligence, it will definitely make your life better, and it will make your relationships better. Not perfect, but when you catch yourself, you can pop yourself back, you can reach out to the right person, you can reach out for and grab the right tools to help you, but you're not going to be stuck in that state that you were when you weren't not aware of what was going on, and you just thought that you were hopelessly stuck in this life that you were unhappy with. So anyways, that's my little lesson for the day. I will talk to you guys tomorrow.